In this video, I am working in the core textbook. We're on page 176. I did scan this just so that I could teach you each problem without having to copy all that. But if you turn to page 176, we're at the bottom, the module 102 review questions. And I am going to follow the directions. If it tells me to do these problems without a calculator, I will. If it says to do them with a calculator, I definitely will do that as well. So hopefully this will help you understand some of the concepts that this book is trying to teach, as well as remind you of some of the basic math skills that you may have forgotten. So number one, I'm going to zoom as much as I can. The number matching the words 2000, 689 is blank. So we're going to take a look at this particular phrase and match it with the numbers. So I notice that there's a comma after the 2. So this is 2,689. So I am looking for something like that. And of course, that is option B. For someone like me who has a problem with dyslexia, this can be a little bit of a challenge. So I encourage you to write those numbers down if you need to. 2689, and the comma is after the 2. So number 1 is B as in Bravo. Number 2, a bricklayer lays 649 bricks the first day, 632 the second day, and 478 the third day. Without using a calculator, determine how many bricks the worker laid during the 3-day period. I'm going to show you a little trick that I used to teach my GED students. I told them to think of the acronym ROSES. And R stood for read and understand. I also told them to underline the question, if it's possible to do that. So we don't have a question mark, but we do have an instruction here. Determine how many bricks the worker laid in the 3-day period. We also want to identify our unit. We are going to be looking for bricks. O is the important step. O is to organize. And the way you organize a word problem, you take all the numbers you can find and their units. In this particular problem, I'm also going to indicate the days. Bricks on the second day, and 478 bricks on the third day. And you might be thinking, why is she going through this when this is such a basic problem? I want you to see the steps. It's not the actual answer we're testing. It's this process that we're testing. So if you want to fast forward, you can, but this will help you solve word problems. So I have marked those key pieces of information. I've lined them up. And usually there's going to be a keyword, but in this case there isn't. So we have to figure out what to do with these numbers. And clearly this is building up. So if you're building up, let me just show you this little trick as well. Make yourself a square and divide it into quadrants. If you are building up, you will either use addition or multiplication. If you are breaking down, you will use subtraction or division. If you're doing it once, you will use subtraction or addition. If you're doing it repeated times, repetitive or iterations, sometimes the word is, you will use multiplication or division. So if you can fix this little image in your mind, this will also help you with word problems. So right here, let me paste this in if it's going to let me. If you practice this, you will get very good at this process. Okay, we are building up. Are we repeating the same number? We're not. So we're building up. We're doing it one by one. It's not repeated addition. So this is addition, and it said to do it without a calculator. So you see that organizing is very important. This S is to set up and solve. And if you do your organizing right, you've already set it up. That's part of organizing. So let's go ahead and solve without a calculator. I see that 8 and 2 make 10, and then 9 makes 19. So 9 carry 1. 7 and 3 make 10, plus 5 more, and that's 5 carry 1. And then 6 and 4 make 10 with 7 more, and that is 7. You always want to include your unit. Okay. So my answer when I set up and solve is 1759. You need to examine it. Just quickly check your work. Did you carry? Did you add? Did you do all the things you should do? If you're in a classroom, I always had the students to examine by comparing it to someone else. I would say, what did you get for this answer? And when everybody says the same number, we know we've got it. The last step is to see if it fits. Does the unit you got match the unit you wanted? It does. Remember, we wanted bricks, and we got bricks. So always make sure that match is there. And ask yourself if this number fits. If you got 17.59 bricks, that doesn't fit. If you got 17 million bricks, that doesn't fit. But this is a reasonable answer for this problem. And even more than that, it fits the choices I have. So I would go with answer A as in alpha on this one. And I know that we could have done that in 30 seconds, but there will be problems that you will not be able to do in 30 seconds. And if you have a scaffold, if you have that Rose's theory in your mind, you'll make it. You'll be able to do the problems. Okay, I'm looking to see if I have any notes that I need to tell you, and I don't believe I do for that one. Sometimes when I'm looking at these, I think of things that I want to remember to tell you, and I don't have any there. So, all right, let's try number 3. A supplier delivered a total of 1,478 feet of electrical cable for a job. Due to a delay, the electricians installed only, that word gets my attention, 489 feet. Without using a calculator, determine how many feet of cable remain. So the question is right here. How many feet of cable remain? So our unit is going to be feet. Okay, when I'm ready to organize, I'm going to pull out all the numbers in the problem. I am also going to draw a picture for you on this one. If this is the cable that was delivered, we know that that is 1478 feet. And we know that only 489 feet were installed. Now, one of the things that you want to get in the habit of checking is this. Do your units match? If they don't, you have to make them match before you can do anything else. So the question is, how many feet are there? The word remain is a clue. The word only is a clue that on this one I need to break down. So, are we doing it once or more than once? We're doing it once. And breaking down once is done with subtraction. So let's do that subtraction without a calculator. They're forcing me to use my basic math skills. So 489. We have to borrow. If the bottom number's bigger, you better borrow. So don't go wild. Just do it once and then see if you need to do it again. And we do. 16 minus 8 is 8, and then 13 minus 4 is 9. That's set up and solve. Check it and see if it fits, and it sure does. I like Charlie on this one. 989 what? Feet. Get in the habit of including that unit, and it should always match what you put into your problem right here. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next page. Problem number 4. A worker has been asked to deliver 15 scaffolds to each of 26 different sites. Without using a calculator, determine how many scaffolds the worker will deliver. So we are looking for how many scaffolds. The answer will be in terms of scaffolds. So let's organize. We know that we have the number 15 with scaffolds and 26 with sites. So I'm going to draw not 26 of them. Let me try to just make a copy because I want you to see exactly what's happening here. Organizing is the key. If you organize, you can solve any problem that they throw at you. But it takes practice. Let me do one more. These are sites, and there would be 26 of them. So that's going to be a lot more than I'm going to draw. So here's site 1, site 2, site 3, and site 4. And that would go on to 26. And at each site, we're putting 15 scaffolds. So clearly, we are building up. And let me put that, oh no, I messed up. Let me go back and get my building up, breaking down. I'm going to have to charge my pen very soon. It just gave me the alert that it is dying. So, okay. Think it through. You're building up. Are you doing it once or repetitively? You're doing it repetitively. So this time you are going to multiply. So to set it up, you would say 26 sites times 15 scaffolds. And here we're ready to solve. So that's 30. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13. 1 times 6 is 6, and 1 times 2 is 2. You add the partial products to get 390. 390 what? Scaffolds. And to see if it fits, it does. D is in Delta. Always check to see if the unit you got is what you're looking for. That will help you a lot if you get in the habit of doing that. Roses is something that you have to practice a lot to master. But once you do, you can solve any word problem that you find. An insulating company has 400 rolls of insulation that must be equally distributed. That word equally gets my attention. to 5 different job sites. Without using a calculator, determine how many rolls of insulation will go to each site. That should not be a question mark. That's a statement or a command. So how many rolls each site? If there is a keyword in the question, you need to notice that. That one is telling me I need to divide. My units will be rolls. And let me see if I can draw this one for you. Let's draw a cylinder. Actually, let's not. Let's say that this is my supply. We have 400 of these rolls. And we're going to send those to 5 different places. Okay. So the question is, at each of those locations, what will it be? So are we building up or breaking down? We are breaking down. Are we doing it once or over and over? We're doing it over and over 5 times. So this is repeated breaking down, and this is division. So we're going to take our supply, which is 400, and without a calculator, we're going to divide it by 5. 5 won't go into 4, but it goes, if you need that 0, put it there, if that helps you line this up. 5 into 40 is 8. 8 times 40 is 40. Nothing left there, but you have to bring down that 0. And that is 0 with none left. So there would be 80 rolls at each site. Make sure it fits. Make sure that you got rolls. So is that what you wanted? Answer is C, as in Charlie. I would see a lot of folks on this one forget to bring this down. So they would tell me the answer is 8. But that doesn't fit. 8 rolls when you started with 400, you would need a lot more than that. So 80 rolls is your answer. That one is done. Number 6 is not really a story problem. It's more of a theory problem, so I will not apply roses here. Which of the following fractions is an equivalent fraction? And we know what that means. Equal fraction for 3/8. So I'm going to bring my 3/8 down here. And I'm going to look at my choices. And I notice that all of them have a denominator of 64. So I'm going to raise this 3/8 up to 64ths. Now there are a couple of ways you can do it. This is clearly a proportion, so that method will work. You can multiply 3 times 64, and it does not say that I can't use a calculator. So I'm going to use one unless it tells me otherwise. If you're not sure, talk with your instructor to find out what he or she wants you to do. So 64 times 3 is 192. And then you turn around and divide that number by the number that's not in that peanut shape. And that will give you the missing number. So 24 is the number I'm looking for. The answer is C. But let me show you an alternate way to do that. This is the way I would do it, but I wanted to show you how to solve a proportion. So, okay. 8 goes into 64 8 times. If I'm dividing, 64 divided by 8 is 8, and 8 times 3 is 24. So that way would also work to give you your common, or not your common, your missing number there. 24 is what you're looking for. Okay, the lowest common denominator for the fractions 8/64 and 8/32 is blank. And I will confess to you, I had never seen a problem worded this way. To me, the lowest common denominator would be 64. But that's not one of my choices, and that is not the answer. Here's what we have to do. We have to take these to lowest terms. So this will simplify by 8. And that would be 1/8. And then 8/32 would also simplify by 8. And that would be 1/4. And then find the common denominator for 8 and 4. And that would be the lowest common denominator for those two is 8. And that's the answer that you're looking for. 8 as in alpha. Never seen that worded that way. It's a very unique way in my experience to ask about common denominator. Number 8 says to perform the following calculation and reduce the answer to its lowest term. It doesn't say you can't use a calculator. So I'm going to show you both ways here. I'm going to first of all do it the way I would do it. It would take me longer to type it into my calculator than it would to do this math. So let me do it this way, and then I'll show you the calculator keystrokes. Lowest common denominator for both of those is 16. 16 into itself is 1 time, so this does not change. 8 into 16 is 2 times, so this does change. And then we add those two together. 9 and 6 are 15, and we keep the common denominator. So I like D as in Delta on this one. Would definitely know how to do that one without a calculator because it relates to tape measure. If this is in 16ths or 32nds or 64ths, I think you need to know it with no calculator. If it's some weird number, use the calculator. But let me put some buttons in here. I like to use these so that we don't get this mixed up with your problem. And I don't remember, I think it takes 6. I'm using the Casio FX260. These are the calculators that we have in our classrooms. So I'm going to show you on that one. If you have a different calculator and need some help figuring that out, ask your instructor or come see us in Adult Ed and we'll help you. On the Casio, the first button you press is always all clear. Just trust me. You need to clear the calculator's memory. Then you will put in your 3 and press the fraction key and the 8, 3/8. Then you will put in your 9, or your plus sign, and then your 9. Put your denominator in there. And on the Casio, actually you got to do ABC again because we have another fraction. On the Casio, the last button you press needs to be equals. Because depending on how the problem goes in, sometimes, especially if there are parentheses, if you don't press equals, you will not get the answer. And when you get into the trigonometry problems, you must press equals. So just get in the habit of putting in an equal sign. And then you'll know that you have the right answer. Okay, I'm going to type this into my calculator to be sure that I don't have mistakes. All clear, 3 fraction 8 plus 9 fraction 16 equals 15/16. This calculator will always take it to lowest terms. So either way, I think for This one, I would need to know it without a calculator because it's tape measure. Same with this one. Perform the following calculation and reduce the answer to its lowest term. 30 seconds and eighths are both on a tape measure, so I'm going to do this one without the calculator this time. So we need a common denominator, and that's going to be the 32. Has to be at least as big as the biggest number. Nothing changes up here, but down here, 8 goes into 32 4 times. Or you can think of it this way. 8 times 4 is 32, so 2 times 4 is 8. And remember that you're subtracting. So 11 minus 8 is 3 over 32, and that will not simplify. So I like A as in alpha. Number 10, put the following decimals in order from smallest to largest. Be sure you know the direction you're going. So I'm going to write these and line them up on the decimal point. I also tell students if there are any gaps in this arrangement, fill it in with zeros, because that will help you with what I'm about to do. So once you get them lined up on the decimal point and you fill in the gaps, you just look at your numbers. So you have 402, you have 420, you have 42, and you have 442. We want to know the smallest one. By the way, the zeros are all the same. You would want to start there, but they're all zeros. So which one of those is the smallest one? Well, that's the 42. And then the next smallest would be, let me call this second. And then the next one would be the 420. And the largest would be this one. So we need the sequence that puts them in this order. So I can eliminate A and C. So B and D both start with the smallest. The second one is the same in both of those. But when we get to the third one, we can tell that the answer is B, as in boy. This one has these two flip-flopped. We want smallest to largest. Here's a word problem, so I'm going to use roses. A worker applies 2 coatings to a pipe. The first coating is 51.5 nanometers thick, and the second coating is 89.7 nanometers thick. Here's the question. How thick is the combined coating? Keyword is combined. Units will be nanometers because that's what we're measuring. So I have 51.5. I'm combining. That's building up. Am I doing it repeatedly or just once? And let me go back and get that little picture. This is one of the best things that I've ever seen for me. I saw this when I was a math teacher at a conference, so I knew how to do this, but I thought that's absolutely brilliant the way they put that together. So let me try again. Okay, it says it copied. Let's see. All right, here we go. So we're definitely building up. That means we're either adding or multiplying. Are we doing it repeatedly or just once? We're doing it just once. So this is addition. And I started to write that and left the... Okay, it does not say you cannot use a calculator, so if you want to, you can, but I'm going to go ahead and just do it with my brain. That's going to be 11. 13 plus 1 is 14. It did not say to round, so 141.2 nanometers. I like option A for that one. Make sure it fits. Nanometers is what we wanted, and nanometers is what we got. I am going to stop the video because it's getting a little bit long, and I'll see you for number 12 on the next clip.